On today's episode of Glue Guys, we're going to dive deep into that mailbag, pull out the best questions and comments from you, the listener, ahead of the end of the All-Star break. I was in Salt Lake City for the All-Star game.
Ooh,
I stood in front of Kevin Durant. I was within 2 feet of Kevin Durant. We'll get to whether I asked a question or not.
You didn't, did you?
After
you
the
choked.
Intro.
Oh, here we go.
Welcome back to the Glue Guys. This is Mike here. Say hello, Brian.
Hello.
Check us out on Twitter at BKGlueGuys, netsdaily.com, The Athletic. Get yourself on the paywall, theathletic.com/GlueGuys, a subsidiary of the New York Times Company. Brian.
Michael. We're back.
The Nets are
back.
How was Utah?
Never have that.
Did you convert to Mormonism yet? Are you? They tried to get you.
Flying to Utah. I flew from D.C. because of home of the Wizards to Detroit, then Detroit to Salt Lake City. And on the Salt Lake City-Detroit route,
Okay.
there was a lovely Mormon gentleman named Braden, 6'6".
Classic. Whoa.
All of 6'6" in the middle seat.
Oh.
Felt terrible for my guy.
Corn-fed bread. Yeah.
Corn-fed.
Yeah.
And he just seemed happy. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? Is it
You picked the wrong book, Mike. It happens to all of us.
Yeah, not my choice. I was fed the book. No. It was great. Salt Lake City is a totally, I thought of it's like, you ever see the movie? I think it's Ghosts of Mars. It's the movie where
the
Ice
horror
Cube,
film, on Mars. Yeah.
but it's
Zombies
also a
on
train
Mars.
movie.
Yeah.
somehow. I felt like Salt Lake City was like if you had a settlement on Mars because you have these striking mountains surrounding you.
Yeah.
and then just a clean,
Very wide
grid
streets.
system.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah, the streets are gigantic.
And nobody on them. No cars, no people. Occasionally,
Fantastic.
I was there. I spent one day there, and I was saying occasionally you would see like one sort of SLC punk kind of, but it was like mall goth kind of kid, like just kind of wandering the streets, sort of. And the thing, it was like first day.
Mall goth. I love the distinction.
First day being goth,
Not true goth.
because they were really clean. It was all very tidy. It was like new goth gear, right? They not.
He was goth, but like
worn
picking
in.
up
Yeah.
litter.
Yeah. Yeah, but hey, lovely town. And what were your big takes, Mike? You had some takes.
It was a big take.
Hey, did you see that Mac McClung?
I mean, I had one of the worst. I going into the dunk contest, I was against Mac McClung.
Wow.
Because
What the hell?
ultimately,
Do you
I
hate
felt-
fun?
Here's the truth. I felt like his whiteness brought him to where he is.
Wow, that's that
You
white
know?
guilt, Mike. That's
And I was like, he's this short. Like I didn't know that much. I knew enough about him because he went to Georgetown, and then he went to Texas Tech after that. And he's from Virginia, local kid, even though he's from way far away Virginia. And there's like the legend of Mac McClung. He was an internet star, and I was like, but does he deserve to be at the dunk contest?
yeah.
Boy, seeing it live is. If you could get to a dunk contest, it was incredible. It was one of the most fun
Yeah.
sporting events I've ever seen live in my life. Of course, these NBA players, like they probably know who Mac McClung is on some level, but they don't really know him. And you know how classic setup.
Mm-hmm.
They're all lined up there on the bench. They're in their, I don't know why we say street clothes, but they're in their clothes.
They're normal clothes, yeah.
They're human clothing wear.
Yeah.
And so they're all watching. Pascal Siakam had a camcorder. Fantastic. Who doesn't love a good camcorder? And
Classic.
Mac McClung steps up to do his first dunk. I think the first dunk was the one where he had a person on a person that he dunked over.
I will say that setup was kind of weird because
The human centipede, if you will.
human centipede dunk
I think that's what it's officially called.
was kind of weird because ultimately it was the way that he was holding it was about where the guy would have been at a head height had he just been standing normally.
Chicanery going on.
There was some chicanery.
It was a lot of squatting.
Hey,
And,
you got to do it. You got it's for the people.
But he pulled that off first dunk, and immediately all the NBA All-Stars were like freaked out and excited. And then every dunk after that, just like their embrace of him and his rising confidence that by the end he does the it's over. You have to do an it's over thing where you swipe your arms across your neck and you say it's over.
Yeah.
It's done. It was thrilling, dude. And,
No.
and maybe it's because I was an all-star virgin
Yeah.
in Salt Lake City, and I was just converted. I felt
Yeah.
like I know people hated the game. I left before the game, but everything before the game I loved. I loved the fanfare. there's a weird element that I think you'd enjoy. There are people who go to All-Star who are not affiliated with the NBA, not affiliated with a brand, who are pure basketball fans who don't go to any of the like ticketed events.
Okay.
They just go to like the free.
That is an interesting archetype of a human for sure.
That travels to a city in the dead of winter to just be around the National Basketball
What percentage of
Association.
people is that?
It felt like a 5%.
Okay.
It's the person that wears the varsity jacket that has all the NBA logos on it.
Okay,
there
that
were
person.
multiple people like that.
Yeah,
just trapezing around.
I will say my only prejudices about Mac McClung stem from, I don't know if you saw this. I'm not going to dox anybody, but we got a bunch of DMs when he was like right before the draft from some like local newspaper from wherever the funk he's from, and that was the pushiest like local newspaper guy I've ever come across.
I forgot about that.
He was like, "You've got 5 minutes to give me a quote about Mac McClung, asshole, because we're going to print."
Well, I mean, wouldn't you have wanted to kind of been in
honestly
a Southwestern Virginia newspaper?
Now
like,
looking back, it's a big regret, but the time, it was too short a time window. The guy was up against a deadline.
What title would you have given? Are you the chief business officer of the Glue Guys, or the chief content officer?
Yeah.
Like what's your proper title? I mean, I guess you're really the CEO.
Yeah, I'm the CEO of this operation. Yeah. Yeah, did you just learn that now, Mike?
I'm just a senior manager. Like I get to run the social media account.
Yeah. No, you're VP of something for sure.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Nets. First, before we have so many fantastic questions. Maybe even some of the questions are on Jacque Vaughn, but we need to acknowledge Jock Vaughn has signed a contract extension with the Nets, multiple years. I forget what the exact year outload is. They're saying Woj is saying gets extended for multiple years past 2023-2024 season. I've seen it go a year further than that. I think runs through 2026, 2027. So that's, I mean, this is too complicated. What am I going to, that's like a 4-year deal roughly. Great move. This is,
well,
this is
going to get ahead of our manufacturer attention because there's an ipso facto here with the Sean Marks thing. I wanted to tease that, but
we're going to argue. I'm going to argue one side of whether Sean Marks should be fired, and Brian's going to argue the other side.
In a classic callback to our manufacturer tension gimmick segment. Yeah, they've been waiting. They've been clamoring. They have on the Discord. Shout out to the Discord.
The funny thing is, the best part of it is your singing, and then the rest of it is
it's all throw it out.
Are you happy that Jock Vaughn is locked in, that we locked in the JV?
I do. I like Jacque Vaughn. I have nothing but good feelings about it. I also like just commitment in one fashion or another during these topsy-turvy times that we're in, Mike. It's good to lock in a long-term, like, hey, this guy is an operator. He's dedicated. He's shown all that. In that Matt Brooks clip that you retweeted, loved his ability to engage. Just when he sees another basketball head, like Matt Brooks is, definitely between the ears, just got basketballs flying around. And
talking about flare screens. I mean, once you bring up the flare.
Yeah, exactly. The only flare I bring up is Ric Flair, Anyways. But yeah, so he was like super eager to just go all in on that. And anyways, that's neither here nor there. Just an approachability and just general good vibes kind of coach. And he's been there through so much. Like he's been, since 2016, he's been in and around.
A lot of thin and not very thick.
Yeah.
Because thick is good or is thin good?
Thick and thin. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's both. It's both. It's just been a long time. Good. Yeah. You think so? Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. No, I get you.
Well, no. Jesus, Brian. What are you alluding to?
I just think he's good as a good coaching hire. I want to get off this thick or thin thing. I think that all makes sense. Do you have any hot takes on that?
I agree with you that. We'll talk about the Sean Marks factor in a sec, but the Jacque Vaughn of this all. He's done a fantastic job. He's better coach than Steve Nash. So recent data point, he's better than Steve Nash. He has an infectious energy.
Yeah.
He's a teacher of the game. And the funny thing is he may not have been the coach built for a Kyrie KD team for many, many years. Like I think he could have pulled it off this year just fine because of his energy.
Yeah.
At some point, those guys would have probably been like, let's hire Ime now. I don't know if they would have done that, but he is the coach for the Cam Thomas, Bridges, Cam Johnson, like that era of Nets basketball. He's the perfect coach for that. The funny thing is, I almost want to say that he is this he's this player development coach. Kenny Atkinson, R.I.P. But he's also kind of buried Ben Simmons a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So even though I say he's this great developmental coach, the guy that you need to most be focusing that developmental energy towards, he's basically said he's literally come out and said it's really kind of hard to play with him because if you play him with another big, where are you going to put him? And then if you play him with no other bigs, then it hurts you in another way. So
let me challenge that a little bit, and I don't want to get ahead of our skis. I think that there's a version of that you could construe as development. Ben Simmons, hey, the free ride's over. You got to earn your minutes. You're in the fight of your life with Daron Sharp for backup center minutes right now. That's the reality of your situation.
Do you think Ben's going to respond to that?
Hasn't responded quite yet. He hasn't. No, it doesn't seem to have lighted a fire under his butt, but I still like that as we've seen the version of it where it's okay, you're auto starter and you're playing with our best players, and but I'm open to the idea that he's experimenting with how do we extract the most value from Ben Simmons? How do we motivate him beyond what he's been doing? Which it's been rough, Mike. We all know.
Yeah, he treats that heat, the fire under his butt, more as like a seat warmer in a Volvo. It's oh, this is comforting.
Well, that's the thing,
good.
because the heat has been just about the temperature of a 2006 Saab wagon. Just not very hot, and now we're ramping up the heat. Okay, we're getting our Sterno cans out, Mike. We're gonna heat this thing up.
Should we just dive into?
Let's get the emails going.
Tell me when you're ready.
You see me take a giant breath in. First up, cheer boy, Ian McCormick. Ian says, how is any of the KD... First of all, he doesn't say hello or anything. He just goes right into it, which I love. Love that energy.
Which I appreciate.
Ian says, how is any of the KD Kyrie saga Sean Marks' fault? I don't get it. Going back to the summer of the clean sweep, if you were the GM of the Nets, would you sign KD and Kyrie? I mean, I love that super fun bench mob season, but there's no way I'm passing. I sure didn't hear a lot of complaining at the time. Okay, so getting them wasn't the problem. It must have been managing the egos then. Well, how the hell are you going to do that? He tried giving Kyrie what he wanted. That didn't work. Then COVID comes around, so on and so forth. Going to skip to the end. Thanks, Ian. I mean, lots there. Good stuff. Are we blaming Marks for appeasing them, the star players, or because the Nets eventually started pushing back? Because either way, no matter what he does, these guys were going to do whatever they wanted for however long they wanted, and were going to bail the second they were told no. While they were here, KD and Kyrie owned this team, and pretending otherwise seems silly. That's Ian, a hot take from True Boy, Ian McCormick.
Which brings us to...
Manufactured tension. Manufactured tension. I didn't time it right.
Which is a segment where Brian and I take either side, because ultimately what Brian and I do is agree on this show. And we want to be famous. We want to become the next Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. So this is our attempt to sort of get into that turf. So
you take the side of firing Sean Marks because...
Fuck you. Okay. You're an asshole. No.
Whoa. Oh, my God. But do you want to take the side of firing Sean Marks? You're better at that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm pro fire Sean Marks.
Okay.
I'm kind of authentically pro fire Sean Marks. And it all comes down to...
You're like Daniel Day-Lewis right now. You're taking on this. I'm starting to believe you.
I'm out there like cutting Last of the Mohicans, making my own log cabin.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can say. There's a lot you can defend Sean Marks with. My main point about Sean Marks is you don't get to be the captain of the Titanic, drive the ship, whether unknowingly or knowingly. I guess the captain of the Titanic didn't knowingly drive it into an iceberg. I don't think it was a suicide mission. That would be a real twist on the James Cameron movie Titanic, re-released in theaters recently. But you can't be the captain of the Titanic, the thing explodes, and just continue to keep sailing boats. To bring it to another analogy, who's the guy, Miracle on the Hudson, Sullenberger, Chelsea, Sullenberger?
Sully? The guy who landed the plane that got hit with the bird?
Yeah. So Marks is not Sully. He's the captain of the Titanic. Sure, he did provide lifeboats in the form of Bridges and Cam Johnson and draft picks, Dorian Finney-Smith. Lifeboats were given. But ultimately, he is a partner in the disaster that is one of the worst history, I'm not going to say dynasties, but eras in NBA history for a single team, right? Like, this is a pure and utter disaster.
Yeah.
So I don't think you get to create that and then continue on your way and rebuilding the team. I don't think you deserve that chance.
Mike, I'm going to take that point and I'm going to absolutely dumpster it, because here's where I'm going to take the captain that you're looking for already did go down with the ship, Mike, and his name was Steve Nash. If we deconstruct the roles here of who's responsible for what, okay? What's the role of a GM? What do they do on a day-to-day basis, right? It's about acquisition, right? It's about managing the roster, right? The idea that it's now suddenly he's some kind of armchair psychiatrist, he's there responsible for making sure everybody's friends. Not his job, bro. Okay, he's not there to take your teary-eyed messages, your voicemail messages, he's there for talent acquisition. All right, he's there to manage a roster. There's a whole other part of the management team who's responsible for making sure that thing is cohesive, that it works, whatever, that everyone's feelings are being honored, so on and so forth, and that the product on the court actually works. Nobody can deny that what Sean Marks did from start to finish resulted in, on paper, as you say, sort of pre-dynastic, non-dynasty dynasty that should have taken the world by storm. What failed to happen there is a whole bunch of external things that he in particular had no control over. When I think about the GM's role, Mike, I think about decision making. I think about roster management. I do not think about managing the emotional day-to-day of the team. Okay, and further to this point, and I'm going to lay out the second part of my argument here. When Sean Marks was building a team from scratch with no lottery picks, no anything, no picks of any kind, did he do a good job of that, Mike? Would you say that he succeeded in that process?
I will cede, certainly, yes, he did a good job.
And where are we now, would you say, in terms of, are we a rebuilding team? Are we, competitive team? Are we playing for a chip right now? Where do you think we are in our cycle?
I think it's between rebuilding and competitive. I think it's the rebooting phase.
Let me ask you this. Who do you think has a better track record in terms of rebuilding teams, getting them to that next level than currently Sean Marks?
Who in the NBA?
What other GMs?
Do you want me to start naming GMs?
I want you to start naming a GM that's...
Kevin Pritchard, Sam Presti. Leon Rose, frankly, has done a pretty good job with the Knicks. Daryl Morey.
What are we talking about? Hold on. You're just naming names.
Pat Riley.
This hasn't...
Well, you asked me to name names.
That's
what you told me to do.
Good names that are actual defenses against what I'm saying. Because you wouldn't want Leon Rose...
Rob Pelinka technically rebuilt the Lakers from a disaster. Like, if we're just looking at what's happened with GMs... John Horst.
All right, you're pushing back. I like this. This is the tension. This is the tension that I was here for. I thought I was just going to steamroll you.
Tim Connolly, who, when he was in Denver, built that team up and made it pretty good.
Okay, of anyone that doesn't currently have a job, do you think that there's a GM floating around out there on the waiver wire that you would trust with this job? Maybe I'm doing it. This is probably not what I would do in a...
Sam Hinkie, no.
This is not how I would normally litigate, because you don't want to ask questions that you don't know the answer to. That's a famous thing you hear lawyers talk about all the time, motor mugging.
And I understand your point about the fact that, like, the roster construction, the on-paper construction of this team, it's the on-paper gods, right? They are the origami masters of the NBA, right? But here's a problem that happened. We have two recent things that we know that happened regarding Joe Tsai and Sean Marks' relationship. And I will say this is also why I think Sean Marks will probably stay. We got the
I already seated. You see it right there. I won the debate.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't mean it's right. What is going to happen does not mean it is also right.
Oh, okay.
For the KD trade, via Woj's reporting, we know that Matt Ishbia, the owner of the Suns, and Joe Tsai, the owner of the Nets, haggled out the final elements of the deal. So Marks was pushed aside in the biggest trade in franchise history, was pushed aside. Before that, the other biggest trade in franchise history, not going all the way back to Dr. J, was, I don't know if was Dr. J a release or was it ultimately a trade? I don't know. I know that whatever.
I gotta pull
roll your
my
eyes.
Terry. I gotta pull up my Terry Pluto. Hang on one second. I'll get that.
What was it, KD or was it Kyrie that talked about? Who was it that talked about the fact that like Kyrie, KD, and Josiah all FaceTimed with James Harden to convince Josiah to do the James Harden trade? So in multiple instances, Sean Marks is pushed aside. Stars go over the head of Sean Marks, which I don't think is that uncommon, but they go over the head of Sean Marks. They go to Josiah, and Josiah makes the James Harden trade ultimately. I mean, this is something that literally was said publicly, that they FaceTimed with Josiah, and that's what decided to make the trade happen. And Kevin Durant, Matt Ishbia, and Josiah hashed out the deal. So as a Nets fan, as a podcaster of the team, my concern is that in multiple instances, in the biggest level, the owner just pushed the GM aside and did the will of the players for the James Harden deal and did the will of Kevin Durant in the KD deal to the Suns. And so can Sean Marks continue to be an effective general manager if in the toughest circumstances, the most important circumstances, Josiah's ultimately just going to say, I'm going to do whether it's what the players want or what I think is best for the team. I don't think that's ultimately that unusual. Like owners we know are much more involved than what we're told. But I think if you bring someone new in, there's a honeymoon period. There's a level of a person who can reassert control. Sean Marks is ultimately, he doesn't control the franchise. And I think it's bad when an owner is the guy who's making the most impactful trades. And James Harden, I mean, we don't talk about it enough, but like that James Harden trade is going to be one of the worst trades in NBA history, ultimately.
And again, that's a different captain, different ship, right? We're talking about
same ship, bro.
No,
Same
it's not,
ship,
because
dude.
if you get a new
If
you get a new GM, right, that doesn't solve your problem of, if, as you say, Josiah going over his head and making these decisions unilaterally. Again, not a Sean Marks problem. Exhibit B. And then you didn't take the bait on this, but I was going to say this is my Helm's Deep argument. If you're going to push back on the,
I'm already in. So you already won the argument. I don't even care what's going to follow, but if you reference Helm's Deep, I'm like, okay, yes.
Did you see the press conference with Kevin Durant and nearly brought to tears in remembering his 4 years with the Brooklyn Nets?
Yes.
What
am I supposed to feel about that?
Well, first of all, confusing, right? Because I didn't know he felt that way. We could talk.
He never displayed that emotion while he was here.
Yeah, like it's one of those weird relationships where it's like it was
like, what the hell, man? You could have used a little bit of that juice. While you were here.
So, anyways, he obviously was tapping into something emotionally with the players. For whatever reason, they separated them, so they disassociated from their feelings like I've never seen before, because KD was a vacant, just a blank slate, and then suddenly is overwhelmed with emotions in a press conference for his new team, which is a weird place to be doing that. I guess maybe the only place he would do it.
Kyrie, I mean, as much as I don't like Kyrie did a way better job sort of ingratiating himself with the community than KD did. And I do, and just as I know this is a diversion, part of the failure of this whole KD, Kyrie, James Harden era is like it was just never fun.
Yeah.
And it like part of the fun of like having a basketball team is the some sense of like the basketball players are part of the community on some level. Donovan Mitchell does an incredible job of this. Like he did it in Utah. He would just like show up. I'm not asking, he would show up and play like pickup ball with like kids. I'm not saying like KD has to do that.
So
like,
Darren Williams did that too. So I don't know. But yeah, I take your point.
Better Nets legacy. Yeah. Darren Williams. By the way, real quick funny thing. Darren Williams coached one of the Rising Star teams, and they had a draft of the rosters. And before the draft, they asked, Darren, so what's your draft strategy? He says, to be honest, I haven't really been watching that much NBA. And I was like, God damn it, Darren. That's all we. Because like, think about how
your only job.
LeBron, like, not to compare LeBron to Darren Williams, but like if fans of the show long time know our struggles with Darren Williams way back. Yeah. And ultimately I think a guy who has no interest in basketball in retirement it shows what he was like when he was in the league. He just didn't care.
But, hey, we can. I mean, let's.
So I think I won manufactured tension. I think okay.
That's
let's go
fine.
to break. Mike won. No.
Yeah.
I think it's a serious topic. Should they fire Sean Marks? And even outside the parameters of manufactured tension, I will say I don't think they're going to. I think he's being empowered to make moves right now for the franchise's future. And I do think there's some element of Josiah that does feel guilty because he pulled off the James Harden trade, and he must know is like I kind of screwed Shawnee on that one.
Can I also say that there's maybe a latent competition with both the team of Sean Marks and Josiah to say like, actually, we can do this again. We're the winning team, and there is maybe a sort of like an angle to which I could look at this and say like, ooh, maybe they want to like be like, ooh, can we rebuild again, be competitive as soon as possible, and regain our all the fanfare that they had about being this great rebuilding team, so on and so forth. But Mike, we're gonna get back into positive things. Should we take a break and then go to some positive emails?
Let's take a break, then we'll get into positive emails. And we're back, Brian.
Next up, cheer boy, Allison Masick. Again, cheer boy. We're going neutral on cheer boy. Allison says, hi, glue guys. I'm purposely going to stop asking questions about Ben Simmons. Okay. We're stuck with him for the time being, and the only person that might be able to help him is Cam Thomas's mother. She did great work with Cam, and she probably doesn't want the job. So onward. If/when you have Mikal Bridges on, I believe in you guys. Ooh, Mike, that's a little task for you.
Yeah.
Can you please...
I'm sure Nets PR will help us.
Can you please ask him about his diet? Does his diet have to do with his insanely impressive records for most consecutive games played? Also interested in whether the Claxons had any dietary components. Thanks, and appreciate the pod. Thanks, I appreciate you, Allison. In general, we have been spending a lot of time doing a little bit of, we're spending time with the past, Mike. Let's look at the present and the future. We had an amazing performance from Mikal Bridges, drop 45. We haven't even talked about that. Maybe you talked about it with your friend David before. I don't know. I didn't listen.
Thanks for the support.
I actually did listen. I'm just trying to be. I'm still in manufactured tension mode. But anyways, I mean, I'll taking Allison's.
Well, I do. There is a muscle and fitness interview with Mikal Bridges that he does talk about his diet. Do we want to get into that just super fast?
You want to give some high level takes?
So he talks about what he likes. He likes to sleep. He's a pescatarian.
How much sleep are we talking? I'm very I'm insecure about the fact that I'm kind of a 9-hour guy, Mike. If I'm being honest, that's my ideal, and it just feels too much. It feels, hustle culture being what it is. I'm feeling a little bit.
He says, I sneak in some naps, but our coaching staff does a great job of making sure if we get in late, not to have a shoot around the next morning or move things around so we can sleep in. The Suns do a lot of things with scheduling in terms of when they fly out to help sleep. He is a pescatarian. I wasn't going to go full vegan, but I could go pescatarian. It was a cool experience. But his go-to Chipotle order, white rice, black beans, double chicken, hot salsa, corn salsa, and lettuce. Sometimes I'll add guac. I'll cut out cheese for my diet because I'm lactose intolerant. Good to know for when he's on the show. So it doesn't really tell you that much about why he's. I mean, like being a pescatarian is like, you can. It's not ultra hard thing to do, I guess.
He seems like a lean guy who might be exercising quite a bit due to being a professional athlete. I mean, that's really what it is, Mike.
Well, and I think like, not to go to DNA and all that stuff, but like, I think he is uniquely talented. If you're that many games played consecutively, which was like 360 games played in a row?
Something like that.
That's just your body and your makeup, right? Like and the way you play and all that stuff, but it's less to do with like because he eats fish versus.
All right, Dr. Smeltz, what do you know about it? Next up,
Sure
boy, we got Matthew Abramovitz. a long time Matthew Brown. Hey guys, two-part. What do you think is the ceiling of Mikal Bridges? And two, how do you think the Nets proceed over the summer? Do they go for a potential star, or do they continue collecting assets? Mike, Mikhail had a game. He had a big game the other night.
He did.
And it got everybody thinking, like, ooh, did we get the SGA deal out of this deal? You know, did we really get the prize? Your thoughts, your comments.
Yeah, I mean, Bridges is like the classic guy who like a high-end role player on a really good team who's young enough to where if he goes to a new team and gets more opportunity, he's just going to put up better numbers. Mm-hmm. The thing I don't know about him is how much. Obviously, he had an incredible. What was it, 45 points?
45 points. It's 45 points.
I don't know enough about whether to put him in the tier of like. So like, there's a clear tier of like the Paul George is the peak of this in the modern NBA, like the current NBA, which is 3-and-D, which is, I guess you can call Paul George that, but Paul George is so much more because he can actually handle the ball and create on his own. Is Bridges that? You know, that's maybe, well, if we really wanted to call it a ceiling, I think Paul George is a ceiling. Whether how likely he hits that ceiling, I think it's minimal, but for sure, it feels like he could be one of the most valuable wing players who isn't a primary ball handler in the NBA. So, like, he's not LeBron or Devin Booker, if we're calling Devin Booker a wing. He's not like those guys where he's a primary creator for your team. But because he is so good at defense, because he is available in every game that he plays, he is a good three-point shooter, and he's an amazing defender.
Yeah.
You know, so Jaylen Brown I think Jaylen Brown's been incredible as development. Like the guy just couldn't dribble when he got into the NBA, and now he's easily an all-star every season. Could Bridges be that? I think he's just a different player, but like, I think the Nets got something. Like, they got a great piece in this trade. And I think to go back to like the whole like trade KD to the Celtics and get Jaylen Brown, trade KD to Toronto to get Scotty Barnes, trade KD to the Suns to get Bridges. Because of his contract, Bridges' contract is incredible. And the years you have him, I think Bridges was the number one asset that you could get out of all of those trades. Because Jaylen Brown, you're going to have to pay a max contract to, I think, next year or 2 years from now. Where Bridges is just on this nice long-term contract.
Really nice.
And I don't know if Scotty Barnes is ever going to be... I just don't know if he'll like ever be a shooter enough to make it
his sophomore slump has been remarkable. I will say that a player comp that I don't see enough for Mikal Bridges, and I don't know if this is me just doing a bad comp, but Chris Middleton, like a better version of Chris Middleton, is sort of in his style of play. It's rangy without being. Yeah,
Middleton is such a good shooter. Like,
I know, but Mikal Bridges, I was starting to see a vision, a path forward for him. I mean, his like mid-range little get into his spots was there.
When he's shooting 89% from the free throw line, Bridges is, which is, I mean, we talk about this all the time. It's the primary indicator for like how good of a true shooter you are for the most part. He's been a consistent three-point shooter his whole career. He's never taken like the 8 3-point attempts per game. It's also partly the system. You know what Chris Middleton's career free throw percentage is? 88. Like, it's 88%. I think it could be that's a tasty comp. And like the funny thing is Bridges is just way more athletic than Middleton. Yeah. I mean, I think a better, more dynamic Middleton is maybe the ceiling. Well, that would be amazing. I would love that. I mean, he's definitely going to get more points just because Middleton has always kind of been second fiddle. I don't know if there was ever a version of a Middleton-led like spree where he was able to put up like 30 in a game or something. I doubt it, but and I don't know enough about Bridges. We'll have him on the show to really suss him out. But he's an all-defensive guy. He seems like at the very least, an amazing number 3 on your team. And I mean that it's like a very big compliment. Like, he seems like a good dude, great defender. He could play in any lineup because of his size and his athleticism, because of his shooting. So is he a number 2? Maybe. I don't think he's not a number 1. He's not Tatum, KD. But that's a nice guy to get. Like we always talk about trading a dollar for 4 quarters in these big trades. Bridges is more than a quarter. No, way more. That's a Sacagawea right there. Is that $1?
That's $1. It's $1, but it's a coin.
It's
So
$1.
it's $1. You liked my comp. You were a little bit of pushback at first, but then I think I sold you on the Middleton.
You always have nice comps. I
Thanks.
like that. What second part of the question we should answer?
I moved on. What was the second part?
The second part is: do you think the Nets go for a potential star, or do they continue collecting assets? I want to ask you this, Brian. What do you want? Don't tell me what you think. Just tell me what you would. Would you rather the Nets like try to trade for Trae Young, or would you rather them?
It's funny. My knee-jerk reaction to that is like we did it. We've done the thing. We did the dang thing, and we flew way too close to the sun.
Let's take a breath.
We got blown up by the sun. And that's not to say, like, I mean, again, the roster as it's currently constructed, obviously, there's some loose ends that we need to tie up. We've got an incredible amount of 3-and-D wings, which I like that as a whole ass team of 3-and-D wings is kind of a weird thing. I like it for the short term, but it might not be a long-term solution.
It's so amazing for what the position that we were in, where we had no wings,
Yeah.
and now we have all the wings.
And they're all young and interesting and fun, and I'm sure we're gonna all enjoy it. But at some point, there will be like a, how do we actually conceive of a more harmonious roster with some more traditional sort of parts? Again, we mentioned that like Seth Curry kind of makes no sense in this current roster. Anyone over the age of 29 kind of makes no sense right now. Just in terms of our timeline. But like, again, I guess looking at the question from the 10,000 mile view, it's like, when do we go all in on being like hyper competitive again? Like, when is there ever going to be a moment where we do the chips all in thing again? And
there will be that moment. That's that is inevitable, like Thanos says, but I am inevitable. But God, I'm quoting Thanos. What's wrong with me?
In 2023, Mike.
That's how bad Marvel is, that I have nothing else to quote.
Hey, what about Ant-Man and the Quantum Wasp or whatever? You see that flaming turd?
Okay, I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah.
I actually may not see it in theaters.
No, I don't know. I don't want to disparage anybody. It could be a not flaming turd.
Nah, it's pretty bad, apparently. They will do it. I don't think they do it this offseason unless if there's a guy, unless if Cat literally comes out, Karl Anthony Towns, and says, I want to go to Brooklyn. I don't want to go to the Knicks. I just want to go to Brooklyn. Trade me there. But like, I don't think that's not gonna happen. So I think for Joe Tsai's own sanity, I think he's just gonna be like, let's just have this team. Let's see, because the best way to rebuild this team right now is just to pause and see. Then maybe in the offseason, okay, can you condense Dorian Finney-Smith and something else to get you like a really good young guard from another team, right? Like, that's what this team needs. They need like a true creator. We'll see what they do.
Next up, cheer boy, Honor Farone.
Not that confident in the way you said his last name, but
Farone? Sorry. Anyways, Amir, I apologize. I'm trying my best. As a lifelong Nets fan who deeply appreciated and will always be thankful for KD's dedication to winning and excellence while he was a Net, even though he never showed the leadership to bring that title to fruition, excellent caveat, do I root for KD to win a championship with the Suns, or should I root for a worst-case scenario for the Suns that produces the best draft picks for us? I am not posing that same question for Kyrie because the answer is as clear as the earth is flat. Got him. Roasted.
Boom roasted.
Michael, are you rooting for KD to win a chip?
No, I like KD. As I said, at All-Star, they bring there's like a media press room where they bring all the All-Stars in the day before the game. And I'm standing as close to KD as any member of the media. He is sitting up at a podium. I am right in front of him, and I'm staring at this guy. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that since June 30th, 2019, that has been in our lives, a central part in your and I's lives and all Nets fans' lives. And for as long as I can remember, ever since then, it was like, our goal was like, can we get KD, you think? Like, I was always kind of poking around the edges, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, of course we didn't. I felt like there was opportunities maybe at some point, particularly this season, because he seemed happy.
Well, until you had a blood feud with Eddie Gonzalez, and then that all went out the window.
Well, it wasn't so much. I bodied Eddie. It wasn't a feud.
Not exactly a feud.
He didn't really punch back,
right?
Because he couldn't, because I bodied him. But there he is, this beautiful human who's a god of basketball, right in front of me, and I don't even care anymore because he's gone, and he's in Phoenix, and I'm not saying I'm happy for him. I'm nonplus. I just don't care.
Well, move on quick, Mike. You move on quick.
And so if you're a true Nets fan, you should want the Suns to completely just implode and all those draft picks become number 1 overall so that the Nets can get Bronny James and everyone else who maybe is good at basketball.
And people doubt Mike's Nets fandom, and he just went all in on scorched earth Suns. Who cares?
Well, and Amir brings up the fact that Kyrie's the answer is clear as the earth is flat.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a masterstroke by Sean Marks for getting the draft pick when he did, because Kyrie probably won't be in Dallas next year. I don't even think. And then I think Luka very soon thereafter will be like, why am I here in Dallas when I have no one to play with? They keep trading away assets, keep trading away players that I like to play with. Like, what's going on? And then Dallas is going to be horrific. And they're going to stink. So I think that 2029 pick is very tasty for the Nets. So I think if you're a true Nets fan, it's not like you have to hate KD. You don't have to hate Kyrie even, but just you want their teams to do bad. You just have to. That's part of the game.
It's part of being a real Nets fan.
They did this to us.
You wouldn't say that if you were a Wiz fan, Mike. I take that to my grave. Next up, cheer boy Ryan Newman, a.k.a. DBronx1414 in the Discord. Shout out to the Discord. That's discord.gg/glue guys. If you're not in there, you are missing out. I'm just going to say, you're just missing out on the whole. You're only seeing the tip of Glue Nation's iceberg if you're not in the Discord, okay? Right. It goes deep. Ryan says, hello. In honor of Jacque Vaughn receiving a well-earned extension, I'd like to throw the Glue guys a fun hypothetical. Here he goes. If you could give another net player, coach, etc., an extension right now, regardless of CBA or salary cap rules, this is just completely fanfic,
Yep.
Who would it be and why? Love, Ryan. Love you back, Ryan. Mike, who do you want to just retain at all costs? Reality be damned. Who's coming with you? Who's coming?
Kyrie Irving?
Ugh.
Is he still on the team? No, Nic Claxton.
Yeah, the obvious choice is Nic Claxton / Yuta Watanabe. I think those are the
What
two.
do you think the price of Nic Claxton is going to be?
Because
he's making.
I have a conspiracy
right
theory. I do have a conspiracy theory. Because his minutes have gone precipitously down since all the new faces have come. Daron Sharp's getting 1 million minutes. Relative to where he was, and I just have the sneaking suspicion that we don't want to do. This would be a really nice time for Nic Claxton to completely elevate his value, and I think we're kind of purposely guarding against that. Does that seem? I don't want to be too conspiratorial, but it's just weird how all of a sudden Nic Claxton's minutes are just not what they were suddenly.
Yeah, so I am interested to see how, if we're doing, maybe we should do this, the Nets we're most interested to watch over the next 18 games or whatever's left of the season. He's high up there because he feasted while playing with Kyrie and KD, and he was a tremendous compliment offensively because everything he got his hands on, he would throw down and dunk and be great. Defensively, he's one of the best defenders in the league, one of the most versatile defenders in the league. He has tremendous value. He's far outplayed the contract he already signed. We know that there were the trade rumors with Toronto that it was the rumor that the Nets don't want to give up Nic Claxton in order to get Pascal Siakam. I think at this point, those rumors maybe seemed a little bit false because at the very same time, the Nets were trading Kevin Durant to the Phoenix Suns while those rumors were persisting. So, it's actually kind of interesting if they had done that, though. If they traded Claxton for Siakam, and then Siakam, Bridges, if that was the team, that would be actually
That's
very
kind of fun. Yeah.
What is the ceiling for a Nic Claxton contract? Because he's not a max guy. Because you just don't. They don't give centers max contracts unless they are the hub of offense on a team. You could look at Clint Capella. You can look at guys like that. What do they make? $20 million a year or whatever. Miles Turner just signed a completely wild extension. It was wild because the Pacers had room under the cap now to give him basically $35 million this year. And then the next 2 years after that, it's something like, I don't know, 17 million. Forget what the extension is, but I don't know. We'll talk about this so much.
Yeah.
If you're the Nets, I would be. Pardon, I can't believe I'm saying this at the end of this pod because we're about to be done.
Yeah.
But I would be interested to sniff around on what you could get for Nic Claxton this offseason.
Classic Mike take. A classic Mike take.
His value's never higher. He's on this great contract right now. You could trade him to any team because he's only making like $11 million. It's very easy.
Why isn't he playing more, Mike? Just answer me. I mean, riddle me this.
That's what I'm confused. There's, as you sussed out, you smoked out of the cave.
You can't get past me. Got to wake up real early in the AM to get one past me, Mike. I'm telling you right now.
What, like 8:30?
Yeah,
what's your
I'm like
time?
a 9. I'm like a 9 guy.
Yeah. We will do this. I think we should do this next up. Most interesting notes to watch. Nic Claxton's on that list because if he just continues his production and he doesn't have Kevin Durant and Kyrie, then he's like a real guy, you know?
I want to give shouts outs to lots of people who we didn't get to because there's many emails that were.
Should we do like a quickies? Are they quickie bowl or just no?
No, I think we should end it. But I do want to give shout outs to all them. Jesse Huff, your Robbie Rose had a beautiful one. Lou Estevez, as always, Rob O'Grady, a bunch of others. Just wanted to shout them out. So yeah, but we couldn't get to them because now it's the time. It's the time to end the show.
Thank you all for listening. At BK Glue Guys on Twitter, netsdaily.com, The Athletic. Seriously, get yourself behind that paywall, theathletic.com/glue guys. If you're a football fan, mock draft season. Mock drafts. Oh my God, there's going to be so many mock drafts. If you're a basketball fan, read about the Nets from Alex Schiffer. And we can care about the draft this year, Brian. We get to do draft preview. One of our favorite things was trying to find the Thon McCurr in every draft. Like, who was the guy that we could obsess over? Or who was the guy? He went to Duke. We were obsessed about him. I don't think it was Thon McCurr. It was like another guy. He was always hurt. He was a tall dude. Oh my God. I think the Kings had him. Tall Duke basketball player, hurt. Matthew Hurt. There's a guy named Matthew Hurt, which is not going to help me. Kings. I'm going to find the name before we finish the show.
Anyways,
we'll see. Harry Giles.
Yeah.
Remember Harry Giles?
Yes, I do remember Harry Giles.
Because he was a top recruit, and we all thought, oh my God, he's going to save the Nets.
Yeah.
And the Nets did not get him.
Yeah.
And he was, he just didn't have a very good career. But it's fine.
So much more on drafty stuff, Mike. That's going to be at least a few episodes of quality Glue Guys content. That's all coming up on this season of the Glue Guys. Say goodbye, Mike.
Bye.